Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Brittani B.A. Franc. I am an author, an indie author, and I also own an online bookshop specializing in surprise book dates. And I am also a serial hobby collector. So you might be wondering like, hey Brittani, you're very echoey, what's going on? And I'll tell you what's going on. This is Brittani in the future. I did record the intro to this video on May the 1st, like a good content creator. I actually was on time. However, the first like 10 minutes of footage that I had, the sound was gone. I have this mic, and for whatever reason, for only the first 10 minutes, it was not working. And it has since done this to me twice more already. So I am putting it to the side. I need to replace it one day. And yeah, I'm just going to record with my hello phone. I'm like, what are you? My phone audio, and we're just going to go with it. Right now, I am working on my behemoth of a second novel. It's currently entitled Project Magic, and that's what today's video is all about. This is a month-long recap on the writing progress for the entirety of May. And right now, it is May 18th at 10:30. So again, this is future Brittani talking, but I'm going to fill you in on some of the stuff that past Brittani from May 1st was saying, and then I'm gonna lob it on back to her so that she can finish up. As I mentioned, I'm currently working on my second novel, and it is it's like the first second draft phase of writing, and it's just a massive piece of work. I truly don't know how I'm ever gonna finish this novel. Like, I don't, and I'm speaking to that from the future as future Brittani, and I've seen what happens this month, and I'm worried, guys. I'm worried. Like, is this ever gonna end? This is the never-ending novel. If you're one of those people who really loves that a story never ends, then you will love this book, I'm telling you. I just thought I would go through where I was at the beginning of this month, everything that was stressing me out at the time, and like the hopes and plans I had on May 1st. For May. Since the beginning of March, each week I've been recording my writing progress and how many words I've written in a day. And I really love that I'm doing this in this book, because what happened with my first novel, A Daisy in Lily's Valley, is that I didn't record anything like in any capacity. I didn't write anything down about the progress. I mean, I kind of did. I think I have a blog post somewhere, but I really just worked on the novel and hoped for the best. And the problem with that is that yes, the best did happen. I did publish my book. It's out in the world. It's been out there for about 3 years now. However, when I started Project Magic, one of the problems that kept encountering is every time I got to a really tough part of the writing process, I would start to think back to A Daisy in Lily's Valley and just remember only the good stuff. So I really had some rose-colored glasses on for sure. And so I would constantly be thinking back to, you know, writing my first novel and how easy it was, and why is it so difficult with this second novel? Why am I struggling so much? So I thought I would start chronicling everything in here day by day, and I usually write 5 days a week, and I wanted to just not only write how many words I was doing, but also like how I was feeling that day, so that by the time I get to my next novel or my next project, I actually have something to look back on that is an accurate representation of how I was feeling. Yeah, I just want to make sure that like I know that I'm not a failure if things are not smooth sailing, and this is my insurance policy on that. Let's get into where I am with this novel currently, or where I was at the beginning of May and what I was wanting to do. So this, again, the longest work I have ever worked on, and possibly will ever work on for the rest of my writing career, because this is a lot. Like, I have been working pretty much nonstop since January, February, and I'm only halfway there. Halfway, maybe not even, like halfway through the story that I'm trying to tell. I kind of knew this going in, and this is probably why I struggled so much to actually start this project, was because I love my main character, I really do, but she's complex. She is so complex, and there's like lots of layers of trauma that I'm trying to showcase it in a very natural way, in a way that I would see it coming up in a real person in real life. And that requires a lot of time, a lot of space, and a lot of words. And from the start, I kind of had this feeling and kind of knew that there were two stories that I needed to tell, like two distinctive stories for this main character's life, so that we could see the whole person behind it. From the beginning, I didn't know how to make that happen in the average length of one novel. So the average length of a novel is like what, around 80 to 90,000 words. Sorry, I keep playing with my hair because it needs to be washed. And even A Daisy in Lily's Valley surpassed that. I think I wound up at around 113,000 words in that final manuscript. And right now with Project Magic, I am way beyond that. And I haven't even reached the big climactic scene that really inspired Project Magic in its entirety. Like this one scene I've had the idea for several years. I've not even gotten to write that. And right now I am not at that point, and I have already written 119,819 words. That's a lot of words, and I still have the whole second half of my character's story left to tell. I have been contemplating, I have for a while, asking myself, does this story actually need to be a duology? And I'm really on the fence about it. I just don't know if I should let this novel be the 800-page monstrosity that it wants to be, or if I need to divide it into two parts. I don't know. I really don't know. And it's very frustrating to not know. I really like knowing things. And yeah, I feel very lost and confused. And I keep reminding myself that there are like 800-page books that are out there that people love. I'm reading one of them. I'm reading Anna Karenina right now. It's like almost 850 pages, I think. And I'm not saying that I am writing a classic novel myself. I'm just trying to remind myself that the market is out there. People are willing to read very long books and enjoy them. And not everything fits into a standard mold, I guess. I just feel really uncomfortable with how long this novel is getting. I will say I do have an alpha reader who happens to be a writer herself. Her name's Taylor Provençal, and her book is coming out in August. So keep an eye out for that. She is a romantasy author, and that's normally not my genre, but I really enjoy how she gives a lot of depth to her characters while balancing that with like a very plot-driven story. She's my alpha reader, and so far she has reassured me that my book isn't total crap. That it isn't superfluous or boring, despite the large amounts of words being employed. She's telling me that we need all these words, and I am just going to have to take her word for it. I have to believe her, because I don't think that she would lie to me, and try to get over myself. It's just really hard when everyone else out there is writing like 300, 400-page books, and I'm over here writing an 800-page book, which is basically 2 books in one. Yeah, basically. So I'm sitting at nearly 120,000 words right now, and I wasn't even including all of the words that I'd written last week of April, beginning of May. I wanted to talk a little bit about that last week, because for that last week of April, start of May, I'd actually managed to write over 10,000 words, and that's super wild. That's way outside the norm. My norm is like around 5,000 words, but it all really boiled down to the fact that I had changed my writing process up, and I'm gonna let past Brittani talk about that. She had her mic on. It was working well that time, so I'm gonna let her talk about that. Before I pass it off to past Brittani, I just wanted to go through how much I actually wrote in the month of April. And so I calculated that exact number because I actually sent out to my newsletter subscribers all of that information. The totals shocked me as far as like how much I had actually written in April. So from the beginning of April till near the end of May, subtracting that 10,000 words that I wrote at the very end, I wrote a total of 34,644 words, which is wild. I did not realize that I had written that much in one month. That is basically a novella. I didn't realize that I had it in me. I also wrote about 10 chapters. I think I started around like chapter 22 in April, and now I'm at chapter 33. And again, it all had to do with my writing process and how I shifted that. So I am going to pass this ball on back to past Brittani. She won't know what's coming, but here she is. She's gonna let you know all about it. One of the things that I wound up doing in changing my writing routine was throughout most of the month of April, I had been kind of writing in fits and starts. You know, I was taking 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, sometimes 5, sometimes 15, like anywhere in between that, and just writing as much as I could. And that's fine. That's usually great if that's all the time that you have is a few minutes here and a few minutes there. You can really put together a novel. Obviously, like I put together 34,000 words in a month doing that, so you can too. But the problem that I'm having is that I don't actually need to be doing that because I run my own business and I can set my own times. I don't need to be writing in 10 and 15-minute chunks. I can take bigger chunks of time and really dedicate myself to the work. However, I wasn't doing that because my brain was getting uncomfortable whenever I got to a hard part. It was like, hey, I really don't like this. I'd rather you be online or checking emails or checking Instagram or whatever. I just realized that this was not conducive to getting into the deep work. Like, yes, I was getting words on the page, but I was struggling more because I kept feeling like I was stuck in the same scenes for a week at a time instead of moving past them. For me, I just need that novelty when I'm writing of being able to see progress being done. So what I decided to do was ignore my brain. Push through the discomfort and sit for at least 45-minute sprints, sometimes 30, but I aimed for a lot of 45-minute sprints in this time. I think that's why this past week I've been able to write over 10,000 words because they have mainly been 45-minute sprints. If I look at the days in which I wasn't able to do a lot, it's because I had like 15-minute sprints. And so I wasn't getting very many words down, even though they did add up. My favorite sprints were 45-ish minutes because I could get in, really dig in deep and push past that discomfort. And usually that's where the magic was happening. That's the biggest change that I've done. I know that not everyone has 45 minutes at a time to be writing. However, I wake up early. I wake up around 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm at the computer by 6:30, sometimes 7, and I have about an hour before my day starts. So that is like the first big sprint of the day. And then after lunch, I try to do 2 more sprints. So I try really hard to get around 3 hours of work in. This week has been, I will say, has been difficult getting up every morning because it's been a lot cooler and my bed just feels so comfortable. I haven't been getting in 2 sprints in the morning. I've only been getting in maybe 1, maybe half of one. 2 to 4 sprints a day at 45 minutes each has really increased my output and gotten me really excited about the story. Now let's talk about what's not working because that's what's working. And I mean, not a lot isn't working. It's more like, it's more mental. It's definitely more things that I'm just struggling with, have been struggling with regards to this project this entire time. I just had a mini spiral yesterday with my friends, texting them, wondering if this book would ever be finished and wondering why it's so long and how I'm on another chapter that's coming out to be 7,000 words long, but all of the information feels so pertinent and I haven't even included all the information. It's not even done. As one of my friends said, a longer book just means that you get to spend more time with your characters. I'm just hoping that that's the camp that I'm in and not, because there's a whole other side, there's a whole nother camp of books, right? that are really long, and after you finish reading them you feel like you just wasted a big chunk of your life. Like, I have read those books and I have really hated it. I just don't want my book to be that. I don't want it to feel like it was a waste of words. I want all of my writing, I always want to be very intentionally done. Well, we'll just see. That's what I'm struggling with right now. Funny that I'm coming to you today on the 1st of May, considering it's a Friday and usually I would be writing today, but I had a really bad night last night. I have some like medical stuff coming up that I have to kind of deal with, and hopefully it's nothing, but it's just, you know, led to a really bad night of sleep and me not wanting to wake up this morning to write, even though I did wind up, I have another book here This is my other journal. This is my catch-all journal. And so I actually wrote a bunch of stuff for this current scene that I'm working on in here. But I haven't actually transcribed any of it or finished this chapter, which I did really want to have finished today, or this week, but you know, that is likely not going to happen, especially since today I am spending my time out in the garden. My best friend is coming over. We're going to be working out there, and I think it's just the right thing to do for today, especially with everything that's going on in my life. However, I may find time to come back in the afternoon at some point and write some more, but we're just going to play it by ear. And plus, we have this whole month, right? I have this entire month to be working on stuff. So I hope that you're excited. I hope that you're ready to come along with me for an entire month. I have 2 coffee dates to spend this month so far, possibly more. I think that there's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of challenges, and I can't wait to share them with you all. Oh my gosh, also before I go, I should probably tell you all about like what my hopes are for this month. And honestly, this was supposed to be the month in which I finished the first part of the manuscript and was setting it aside by the end of May for a month in order to, you know, take a step back and come back to it with fresh eyes. But I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said, there's just so much left on this manuscript. I have the whole other half of my main character's story to look into and write. So my goal would be, it would be great if I could get past that main initial scene that I have had in my head for years that inspired everything. I'd love to write that and finish that by the end of this month, hopefully by the mid-month mark. That would be great. And then get into this final arc of my main character. It is very messy. I have a lot of scenes and I have a lot of ideas. However, I don't know how to string them all together, especially between the past and present day. I'm not sure how those two are going to play out because there's a lot in her past that informs what's going to happen in the second half of this novel, because it's kind of something that she's, you know, been repressing for literally years and years, and it's all going to bubble out. So it would be really great if by mid-month, fingers crossed, I can get past this main scene that I have an idea of, and then maybe outline or, you know, kind of flesh out a little bit more how the rest of the story is going to go, because I know the ending. I know how this entire story ends. I've had that for a while. I know the line that it's going to end on, and I just need to figure out how to get from that main scene to the end with everything in between. So it'd be cool if by the end of the month I had a better idea of like where all that was gonna go.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire.
Good morning, everyone. Ooh, I can see my breath. So today it is May 5th. It is Cinco de Mayo, and I am I don't know. Today is a weird day. Like I said last week when I was getting started with this video, I'm planning on doing, you know, a monthly recap or a monthly ride along with me. I don't know what to call it, but basically just a monthly vlog of me writing and also life, just life updates. And right now, I am about to get ready to go to a doctor's appointment, and I absolutely hate every doctor's appointment ever since I had this really large cyst removed from my ovary and in 2022, and then all the subsequent doctors before, years leading up to, and then all the after doctor appointments. It's just left a lot of medical trauma for me, and so going to any doctor for anything always elicits a lot of negative feelings. I literally told my husband that today after this appointment, I am likely going to cry in my car, regardless of if news is good or bad, or indifferent, or, because they might not have any news. So basically what's happening is I was at the dentist last month, and they told me that they found a lesion at the back of my throat, and they asked if I had any sustained any burns or anything like that, and of course I was like, no, unless you count soup. Sometimes I drink my soup a little too hot. But I didn't think anything of it for a while because my throat wasn't hurting, and I did try to make an appointment with who they referred me to, but of course, America and health insurance sucks, and so who they referred me to was completely out of network. So I wound up canceling that appointment and just being like, you know what, I'm going to keep an eye on it, monitor it, see what happens. And a month went by, nothing has changed, and of course I started looking up things, and the internet is a very scary place to be when you have anything medical going on. So just for peace of mind, I have made an appointment with an ear, nose, throat specialist. And I mean, if you, for those who know me really well, know that I've been dealing with ear, nose, throat issues for the past 15 years. I don't know. I got a dog when I was 19, and I didn't realize I was allergic, and it just set off this 15-year journey of being allergic to everything, and my allergies have only gotten worse. I don't know if you can hear how stuffed my nose is, but I have not been able to breathe through my nose like a normal person in all this time. There's one or two times that for seconds, I can breathe, and I'm like, oh, is this what it's like to be a real person, to breathe normally? So I am planning on going very soon. I'm about to head out, and because I know how upset I will be afterwards, I have already planned to go to the thrift store, not as retail therapy, but just as I need stuff from the thrift store. I need stuff for the garden. I'm going to be using bedding, cotton sheeting, as a way of sheet mulching because we just do not have enough cardboard for the projects that we're working on. So I'm gonna go get some sheets, and also hopefully just kind of wind down from one very high intensity activity or emotionally high intensity activity to something that brings me a lot of joy, which is thrifting. I do enjoy seeing different things that you can find there. I mean, my entire outfit is literally thrifted today. I love this sweater. I got it for $2, and it's one of my favorite sweaters, which is perfect because apparently the Georgia weather doesn't know what it wants to do, and it is freaking cold today. I am very chilly, got goosebumps everywhere, and then it's gonna be really hot this afternoon because that's what Georgia does. Yeah, I'm gonna go, and you might be like, Brittany, why are you telling me all this medical stuff? This has nothing to do with writing. But honestly, it does in a way, because I wouldn't have gotten on my writing journey if I hadn't have been going through that medical stuff. I mean, maybe I would have, but my first book wouldn't have turned out the way that it did had I not been through this medical journey and had to give up so much of my diet at the time, trying to figure out what was happening inside me. And yeah, I just think that it's very important to share those stories of chronic illness, of chronic pain, because I mean, I definitely live with it, and I don't see enough stories out there about it. And it's not something that I even really thought about. Even as I had chronic pain, I never thought about the fact that I wasn't seeing that represented in stories, and just seeing characters living through it and thriving despite their circumstances. So yeah, it all ties into that. And then also on another more personal, I guess, level, or I guess not even personal, just the more daily level of right now, right here. I've already written a little bit today. I wrote some yesterday as well. And camera's a little crooked. I wrote some yesterday as well, and I wrote about 2,500 words yesterday. I wrote 700 this morning, and honestly, I don't know if I'm going to write anymore today because I don't know what my emotional state's going to be like this afternoon, and I'd like to think that I'm going to come back to writing. I just started a new chapter. I finally finished chapter 33, my longest chapter yet, and I don't know, I would like to come back, but this is real life and things happen and it sucks because I want to be writing and I want to be creative. It brings me a lot of joy to weave these words together, to weave my main character's story together, but I might not be up for it, you know? So this is just a very real take on what it's like to, you know, try and be a creative while also navigating chronic illness, chronic pain. So I will keep you all posted on how the doctors goes. Hopefully it's nothing. And maybe if anything, they can figure out what the heck is wrong with my nose and help me breathe better because I have tried everything and nothing has worked. So I have just finished up at the doctor's office and turns out everything is a-okay. We are going to keep an eye on everything that is in my throat, but it looks like it might just be like residual scar tissue or something from tonsils. I have never had tonsils. I had them removed when I was a kid, so didn't even know that that was something that could happen that I should be looking for, but it looks like everything is fine. So I am feeling good-ish. I did not particularly like the instruments that were stuck up my nose, but there was numbing spray put up my nose and I've never breathed better in my life. Like seriously, do I just need to numb my nose every single day in order to breathe like a normal person? Anyway, I am still going to go into the thrift store because even though this was good news, I know that there are probably lingering feelings that are going to come up, and I don't know, just being at a thrift store is always like one of my happy places. I love looking at different things that we might need, and again, I am going specifically for cotton sheets. Oh my gosh, I forgot what I was going for a second. I have a goal in mind, so that will help to just transition back into today. But because this was all good news and not anything to worry about, just something to kind of look at in time, I think that I'll be able to write as well. We'll see. I think so, though. I think that I'll be able to write some this afternoon. So yeah, let's go thrifting. Let me show you. These cats are so ridiculous. Anyway, so I didn't find everything that I was looking for at the thrift store. I did find a lot of cool things that I didn't wind up getting, just because as much as I love the things that I find at thrift stores and how unique they are and how special, I'm not trying to keep everything in our house. That is just another form of overconsumption that I'm not into. And I actually recently just saw a post this morning by, I can't remember who it was, but they were basically saying, they were showing a thrift store store, and they were saying when you go to purchase something, you should really be thinking about the end life of that product, and donating is not, a sustainable model. Yes, donations do help to keep things out of landfill, but if you're purchasing with the intention of eventually donating that item, then that's not actually a good use of your purchase, and you should be thinking about purchasing things that you are going to, like, what if you could never unhaul it, so that just got me thinking, and I wanted to make sure I didn't purchase anything that these cats. I didn't want to purchase anything that was eventually just going to be tossed. But I did wind up finding 2 rugs for a friend who has been looking for them for her wedding. And I'm really excited about that because she's been looking for a while. She told me back in February, she gave me a list of things that she was looking for. And my friends call me the thrifting queen. So I definitely was keeping an eye out for her. And it took a while. It took a while to find them. But then there they were, 2 rugs, $20 each. They're gigantic and they're perfect for what she was looking for. And then she's planning on using them afterwards in her house. So, I love that. And that's one thing that if you are trying to get into thrifting, I find the best way to find the things that you want is just to be patient. A lot of my friends always tell me like, oh, Brittany, you're so good at thrifting. And honestly, I don't think that I'm doing anything special. I'm just being patient. I'm just constantly on the lookout. I have a running list in my head or in my phone note, and I'm constantly looking for those things, and I will not settle unless I find exactly what it is I'm looking for. For instance, I was looking for some slip-on shoes for the longest time because I just didn't have anything that was easy to slip on and off. I only had things that either laced up or required socks or whatever, and it took, I think, almost a year to find something. And then when I did, they were like brand new sustainable shoes with wool inserts, and I looked at the retail value online and they were $100 shoes that I got for $10. So, I'm not like magical or anything. I'm just consistently looking every time I go to the thrift store. And yes, there are some days where you are very, very lucky and you find a lot of good stuff. But then there are days like today where you don't find anything that you're looking for. Instead, you find everything you're not. I will say that I did wind up finding in the curtain section a cotton linen curtain, and it was just one, so it doesn't belong to anything. It's not going to be part of my house anywhere, even though it's a beautiful curtain, and it would work really well outside, but I love the color so much that I think I'm actually going to sew something with it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, enough about thrifting. It feels so good out right now. Do you hear that wind? I don't know if you can hear it, but it feels really nice. The breeze is great. So I do think that I'm actually going to work out here for a little bit. I'm going to put in about 2 sprints, I think. Fingers crossed. Going to get into writing, going to drink on this tea, going to make sure my cats don't kill each other, and yeah, see where it takes me. Minutes to do this before my baked goods are done and before I run out of battery on my phone. I am here today because it is May 15th, so I thought it would be really good to do kind of like a mid-month check-in with how writing is going and give you my very honest feelings on how I am doing right now. So as a reminder, I started out this month around 120,000 words of my manuscript, which I thought was big. I thought we were very close to getting to the point that I wanted to get to. No, no, spoiler alert, no, we're not. But so we started out around 120,000 words. So that was 2 weeks ago. I was on chapter 33, and I don't know how, but somehow in the past 2 weeks, I have managed to put another 22,000 words into this manuscript, but only 5 chapters. So that means I'm at 142,000 words and I'm on chapter 38 right now. And I'm like so close, you guys. I'm so close to being like at this pivotal point that I've been so excited about writing about and what honestly inspired this entire novel. And it's just, I can't deny, it's a little frustrating at how many words have been required to get to this point, and just how long it's taking me. I feel like I am moving at a snail's pace. And if I'm going to be really real, we're about to get to this point. And honestly, I have always thought that this particular event would be, if I was going to do a duology, this particular event would be the place in which to split the books. It just makes sense. It's a very climactic, tense situation that's happening. And so it just makes sense to split the two halves of the story right here. However, thinking about that and thinking about the number of words I've written and the number of words that I have yet to go in order to write the second half of this story, I'm just thinking, I'm almost at 150,000 words. Am I about to truly write a 300,000 word book? And what does that look like as far as I have been working on this novel pretty nonstop since January, maybe February. Let's say that I was sick in January, so it took me a little bit of time. That means like daily putting in the work, which I love to write. I really, really love to write. I love creating these stories. However, that is a lot of time spent on one story. And I'm getting antsy. I'm getting antsy to write another story. I'm getting antsy to, pick up more words and spin more tales and things like that. But I don't seem to be the kind of person who can work on two things simultaneously. It seems very challenging for me, especially considering the next story that I have in mind also deals in the same world in which I'm writing, and it doesn't feel different enough to be able to separate the two. I talked to someone else who writes multiple stories at a time, and she told me that she makes sure that each of the stories is very distinctly different. They each have their own voice and they're in completely different, I think, genres as well. And so for me, it just seems challenging if I'm going to write another story. If it's going to be set in the same world, is that different enough? Are things going to be crossing over? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? So I'm just left with a lot of doubt right now and a lot of antsiness, I guess. Impatience might be the better word. So that's where I'm at right now. And I don't really know where to go moving forward. I mean, I do. I know that I'm going to be showing up to write this story and see what happens with it. I am so close. I think I'm one scene away from getting to the pivotal moment. And so if anything, at least I met my monthly quote unquote goal I think I set out. I don't actually remember what I said in the beginning because I haven't watched all the footage back, but I'm pretty sure one of my goals was to get through this pivotal scene because I am very excited about writing it. It has been on my mind for multiple years, so it is ready to come out. So the other thing that I have been thinking about is just being an author from a business perspective, and the fact that I'm such a slow writer, I'm starting to worry about whether or not it's even viable. And I know that there are like lots of indie authors out there making 6 figures a year. If not that, at least they're making a living. And I know that there are plenty of authors in the world who never make writing their business, if you know what I mean. Like, they don't make their main bread and butter from writing. It's more of a side thing, even if they want it to be the main thing. Even traditionally published authors, I know that it's a very difficult business to crack into and to make a steady living from, especially with how many voices are out there, which I personally love that there are so many voices out there. I really do. And I think that there is room for all of us. However, I know that there's also only so much time in a person's life in which to read every book that they ever want to. You should look at my TBR. It is miles long. I'm just getting a little in my head about it. about the fact that I want to make this a living for myself. I want to be able to make money off of my writing, but I also want my writing to touch people. I don't necessarily want to be a writer that is able to just pop things out once a month. Like that's just, I don't think that that's me. And there's no judgment on anyone who is able to do that. Like that's awesome if you're able to write that quickly. I'm not. I just am not able to write that quickly, but it feels as if I need to get to that place almost. I need to be pushing out a lot more content in order to make a sustainable living. I don't know. These are just quandaries that I have right now, and queries and questions, all keywords. I did not mean for that to be an alliteration, but all of them just kind of going through my mind right now. And so I started off really positive, super excited, and right now it's just kind of like an ebb. I'm not in the flow yet, or I'm out of flow, and I know that flow will come back, but right now I'm in an ebb. I am in an ebb. Oh my gosh, try saying that 3 times fast. And it's just hard, you know, and I just thought I'd be honest with you all about where it is that I'm at, because this is very much the life of a writer, the life of an artist, I should say, is just that constant wave of feeling confident, losing all confidence, feeling great, losing all the greatness. And yeah, I'm just at the bottom of that hill right now. So hopefully by the end of the month, things will look differently, but we'll see. We'll see. I am going to continue, like I said, just leaning on my practice of writing and showing up every day and putting words to the page and hoping that this story eventually comes out completely. Don't even get me started on what I'm going to do with editing, because I have no freaking idea. No idea. Let's see how the rest of this month pans out.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in.
Good morning, everyone. It is currently May 25th. It's the last week of this month of writing updates, and I am just now realizing that I didn't do a very good job of updating throughout the month. I think I came on once, right? And that was about it. I think that next month I'm going to definitely try to update a little bit more throughout the month with how I'm feeling. I mean, I think I said at the beginning that I have this notebook in which I share each and every day how I'm feeling with writing, and I should just do that, you know, here a little bit more. I think I got my mic to work as well, so we're testing this out. It is a little after 6 in the morning on the 25th, and like I said, this is the final week of this month, and I'm finally, I'm so excited getting to the meat, not the meat of the story, but really this climactic point in which this entire novel was inspired by. It's only 150,000 words into the actual novel, and there's still a whole nother half to go. But you know, I'm not gonna think too much on that until editing goes, because otherwise I just get really overwhelmed with the fact that there are that many words. There truly are that many words. With regards to this final week, it's very interesting because I don't have very big chunks of writing time this week. A lot of it is just going to be capturing and snagging these in-between moments because this week is very busy. Arlen's birthday is actually this week as well, so he's taking the day off, and we are watching Project Hail Mary, and we're doing just a lot of fun stuff for that. I'm baking him a cheesecake because that's his favorite. I'm just remembering I have so many things to do this week. I also have June book subs to send out for my monthly surprise book date for my business, and then I have to edit some baking videos since I'm a little behind on that.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot this week. And then I have to film some more videos too. We're gonna see what I'm able to get done. I have been feeling a lot of resilience when it comes to writing this climactic scene. And I wonder if it's because it happens to be based a tiny bit on something that happened in my own life, like an actual event that affected my life and like thousands of other people's lives. Wonder because it is a slightly traumatic event if my brain is just kind of like trying to keep me safe and away from it. So that I'm like, oh, my brain's like, don't go excavating these traumas from your life. But I do think that at least last week when I was getting into writing it, I had just gotten to a part where my characters are like in a greenhouse and the mood was very atmospheric and it was very nice. And I had a lot of fun researching for this particular scene because it involves tarot. I was really getting into it, but then of course I don't write on the weekends primarily. I just find that I need a small break throughout the week, especially since my word count has gone way up each week. And so I just didn't finish it, and so it kind of was sad because it felt like I was losing a bit of momentum, and Monday mornings are always a little bit trickier to just dive right in. I tend to procrastinate by checking my email, checking social media, and just kind of doing a lot of things other than diving right into writing. For example, filming this video. So I'm going to procrastinate a little bit more and I'm gonna dive in and see how far I can get. I'm really hopeful that I can get through this point and get started on the second half of the novel, because I honestly feel very lost with the second half of this novel. I have all of these little vignettes of scene ideas and absolutely zero way of knowing how to connect them all together. I'm sure that I will figure it out. I have figured it out for the first half of the book. I managed to string together all of the random scenes that I had in a somewhat coherent way. There's lots of editing to be done, but I can do it for the second half. I have the skills. I just don't feel as if I have the skills, and my brain's trying to trick me into thinking I don't have the skills, and the board over here is freaking me out because of all of the mess, and I know it's not in the proper order. So I accidentally got cut off by my alarm, and then my microphone again decided to stop working. So this has been really fun. The morning is not working out in my favor as far as like getting into the thick of things, but I'm just going to, I've said dive in like a million times now, but I actually have to go and do it regardless of how much I don't want to, and regardless of how tired I am. We're gonna do it. We're going to get into the scene. I'm going to set my timer for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes at this point, because I'm really resisting, and I think setting a 40-minute timer would just be asking way too much of me. So let's do it. Let's go. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Let's do it.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire. Never the same. Never you calling my name. I'm taking my sweet time.
I have just finished 2 sprints. The first was only around 10 minutes long, and it really did get me into, you know, the whole writing feeling, getting into the groove of things, because I was not not feeling it. And my second sprint was 40 minutes long, and I wound up writing a little over 1,000 words. Some of those words were written before, but I was connecting like the end of my chapter to the scene that I was just writing, and I feel like it went okay. It went just okay. I'm not 100% on like the dialogue in this scene. I really want it to be punchy and very charged. However, I'm not feeling as if I have really nailed it this round. I think that there needs to be a little bit more motivation, or maybe some hints dropped throughout the rest of the story that kind of builds up to this moment. That's all stuff that's going to come with revisions, and I'm going to send this off to my alpha reader Taylor and see what her opinion is on it, because yeah, right now I think that I have the bones of something really good, but it's not hitting the way that I think it should, at least not yet. But I've done a little over 1,000 words today, which feels really good, and it's now 7:40, so I'm going to go hang out with Arlen. I'm going to have my tea, which I'm so excited about because I am so tired. I just really want a little bit of caffeine in me. And then, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to write any more today. I would like to, but I have a lot to do today that is not going to be here at the house, so we'll see. But I will be back tomorrow for sure for more writing, and then I will come back and update you all in just a few days' time with how I've done this month, because it has been a month. It has been a month. So definitely stick around if you want to hear all about that at the end. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so excited. So it is not officially the end of the week or the end of the month. Rather, it is April. I'm so excited. I don't even know what month I'm in. It is May 28th, and I have finally reached the goal I set out to reach at, mid-May. Finally reached it. I have gotten to the climax of my story, or what I believe is the climax of my story. And it just feels so good. I am so happy right now because this has been a long time coming. I will give you, the roundup in just a little bit at the end of this video, but so many words to get to this point, and my heart is literally pounding. I'm so freaking proud of myself, so freaking excited, and so funny because at the beginning of this week I was having a lot of doubts. I didn't even write for an entire day because I was just feeling so low about my writing, and now I come back and I've managed to write this final chapter of, if this becomes 2 books, this would be the final chapter of book 1, and I just feel so good about it. It's probably not perfect. I mean, it's definitely not perfect. Nothing's ever perfect in the first draft, but I don't know. I just entered a state of flow with it, and it felt really good to be getting there and describing everything that's happening. It's very action packed. I think it's I love books that end on a climax, or not even a climax, a cliffhanger, and I think it's a great cliffhanger. I sent it to my alpha reader Taylor, and we shall see what she thinks, especially because both of us have, even though she doesn't know this yet, both of us have a connection to this particular scene, and so I am very curious to see how she feels about it. I've still got a few days left of the month, and we're gonna try and make headway on the second half of this book, or book 2, because I do still feel that regardless of what happens, if this is 1 book, if this is 2 books, that I absolutely need to write the entire thing first before I can even think about editing. There's just no way. There's too much that is correlating and interwoven in this story for me to only write part 1 and then ignore part 2 for like a year and a half, however long it takes me to write. So we're gonna keep on trudging through, and yeah, I'll be back in just a few days with my final roundup of how May has gone. But right now, I'm almost ending on a high, so it is May 31st. It is officially the very last day of my writing month, and I've got some numbers for you all. I've got some numbers, but before I get into the numbers, I just wanted to say that this month has been an absolute roller coaster of a ride. I just finished rough editing. My cats are going everywhere. The cats just love hitting everything. Come here, boysenberry. Come on. So I just finished rough editing last night the video of this month, and just seeing how tumultuous the entire month of writing was. I swear, filming with cats is so difficult because they want to touch everything. They want to hit everything. They want to pet up against the tripod that I have my phone on, and it's just causing everything to shake. So I apologize in advance if that happens, because they are very playful right now. We didn't get to play with them this morning. Anyway, it was just wild to see how tumultuous this month has been, how up and down everything is, because as the month is going by, like obviously I am feeling these feelings. However, you forget about them. You forget that they're actually happening as viscerally as they are. So looking back and seeing, how stressed I was about the length of this book and how I was struggling with certain sections at certain times of the month was just really eye-opening to me to witness, because I know logically that this happens. I know that I have written this down in my little notebook, but again, once it's passed, you just kind of forget that it happens. And I think that this is a really good reminder to me, because I do, especially when I'm in the dips, in the lows, I tend to think that that's always going to be how I'm feeling. And I forget that feelings, good and bad, pass. And so even if nobody watches these videos, these are so good for me and my writing practice, because I can actually see this happening, not in real time, but at least in editing time. And so I find that super helpful. Anyway, on to how this month has gone as far as writing totals. So I will put a little disclaimer here, because I did 2 sets of totals. I did a total of where the month started as well as where the month ended as far as word count goes, and that total was different than the daily total that I added up. So I'm just going to pop up on the screen right here each and every day's writing total, because I think as a writer, this would be really interesting to see other people show this sort of thing, because if I hear what a writer does, say in one given day or even a whole month, I might start to feel inadequate about my own writing practice, feeling like, oh, they must do this every single day or every single month, but that's not true. Every day is different. Every month is different. So here is all of my writing totals for this month by day. I don't know how long I should sit. I should have brought coffee. All right, so now that you see everything that I did this month, you can see that I had quite a few days where I didn't write, and I actually added up how many days 0 words made it to the page, and it was almost half the month. It was 13 days, so that's a lot of days to not be writing. However, from the calculations that I made of, hey, she is being so naughty. You're being so naughty. It's because you want to play, huh? You want to play, huh? So from my calculations of what I just showed on the screen, I wrote a total of, see, these cats just want to come hang out. So Mr. Carson, you want to tell what the total was for this month? I wrote a total of 28,668 words based on what I actually recorded in my notebook. However, I looked at what the month ended on as far as word count goes, and that my total word count was 155,441 words. Now, as a reminder, I started the month at having written 119,819 words. So, doing a little math, which I already did because I can't do that in my head, that total would have been 35,622 words. That's quite a big difference. That's a 7,000 word difference. And the only thing that I can chalk that up to is the fact that I don't count the words that I've written until I've finished an entire chapter. And I do believe that I had started on a chapter that kind of straddled last month. So I think that I included some of those words. So that's one thing. And then I do happen to go back and I'll add words to documents even after I've counted them, because I'll think of something that I really need to add to a scene. I'll do that after the fact, and then I just won't update the words. So I think that's where the discrepancy is. However, even if I've only written 28,000 words this month, like let's pretend that I only did, bless you, I only did it on the low end, that's still a lot of words. That's incredible. I am tickled at how many words that I've written this month, and especially considering half the month wasn't actually writing, like no words made it to the page because there were days where I was just feeling incredibly sick. Chronic pain, chronic illness does that to you. There were days that I had a lot going on. There were days that I only sat down for 10 minutes and popped out 400 words or so, and it all counts. It all adds up, and I'm incredibly proud of myself for that. Yeah, that's where this month has ended, and I can't remember what chapter I started on. Now I've already forgotten. I think it was in the 20s. I ended on chapter 40, which is kind of a nice round number. So going into next month, I'm really going to be focusing on mapping out the second half of my novel / duology, whatever it's going to become. And I think it's going to be very different structurally to the first part, which again, this is why I'm leaning more towards making this 2 books rather than 1, because there's just like such a clear divide and everything's going to just go terribly wrong for my character. I feel so bad for what I'm putting her through. And it's already started, like I was really nervous about, I know I talked a million times throughout the month about the length of this book and, just how I'm going to make this all work together. And part of that was that the only way I wanted to do a duology was if I could get around the same word count for the first half as I did for the second half, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to me to have 2 separate books. It doesn't have to be an exact word count, so I don't have to write 150,000 words for the second part. However, I do need it to be somewhat close, like maybe 100,000, 120,000 would be ideal. And I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to do that because the second half of the book is focusing on like one singular traumatic event from my character's past. And I was like, is this enough to actually fit into a whole book in and of itself? Because I don't want to stretch it in a way that feels like I'm stretching it. I want it to feel very natural and like this is the story that needed to be told, and I wasn't trying to like eke out anything extra. However, I've already started on chapter 1 of this like second part, and I'm realizing just from this first chapter that there's a lot that I have to add that I hadn't thought of, because the event that ended the first half is something that actually requires a lot of time to recover from, and it's not going to be a quick and easy fix. And I've had to do a lot of research on this, even though this is something that actually happened to me in my life. It didn't happen in exactly the same way, so I have to research the part of it that did not happen to me in exactly the same way to make it as realistic and accurate and respectful as possible. Yeah, in researching, I'm just like, wow, there's a lot that this poor main character is about to go through, and it's actually going to take a lot of time to work through that before we even get to the meat of the story. It's interesting. I'm just trying to keep it very loose, hold this story very loose, and have fun with it, and as fun as you can have when you're in a very dark place for your characters. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this next month holds. I'm going to celebrate my wins for this month. I plan on buying myself a new yoga mat because my old one I mistakenly left out, and my cats scratched the crap out of it over several months a couple years ago, and so it just looks a little worse for the wear. So I'm going to invest in a new yoga mat that is nice and not so scratched up and torn up and is a little bit longer because I'm very tall. Well, not very tall, but I'm much taller than I realized for yoga. And I think I need a longer mat because a lot of the times I'll be doing the poses and I'm just like not even on the mat at all. Thank you so much, everyone, for, sticking with me through this very chatty, very rambly, long video. I had a lot of fun doing it. I learned a lot, and hopefully next month's is not as long. because I mean, man, can I talk. But if you did make it this far, thank you. And if you would comment with any emoji that has, you know, yellow in it, that would be fantastic. I think yellow is the happiest of all the colors, and I would just love to see that happiness spread through. And tell me a little bit about what projects you're working on too. I am always interested. I love talking to other writers, other artists about whatever is lighting them up. So please, please share that with me. Until I guess next month, I'll see you later. Bye.